Alright you guys, welcome back to the Fishwater Aquatics YouTube channel. Today we're going to be going over why you should have a Wavemaker in your tank, as well as the many of the benefits that they provide. We're also going to cover Wavemaker placement kind of towards the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. Now, it doesn't matter if you have a freshwater tank or a saltwater reef tank. Wavemakers are beneficial for both fresh and saltwater, so no matter what kind of tank you have, this video will be for you. Now, one last thing before we get into the video, over 96% of my viewers that watch this channel aren't actually subscribed. So if you guys want to, hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. All the support goes a long way. And to the 3% that are subscribed, I greatly appreciate you. And I love the feedback and getting to connect with you guys in the comment section. So yeah, thank you guys so much, like I said. And we're over 750 subs, so we're on our way to 1,000. So thank you guys. But without further ado, let's go ahead. Let's get right into the Wavemakers, guys. Now, the first reason you should have a Wavemaker, and actually it's a pretty big benefit, come to think of it, it will keep your tank significantly cleaner. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. So this is my 75-gallon American cichlid tank here, and I have had that power head off for about a week and a half, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to show you guys just how much debris starts floating around the tank that the power head, that the Wavemaker is kicking up. So let me go ahead, let me turn that on now, and you guys might be shocked just how much this Wavemaker will kick up. So as you can see, I just turned the Wavemaker on. You can see the flow, and just initially from the startup, I'll step back a little bit, you can see a lot of particles floating in the fish tank. And now you might be asking yourself, how does this help to keep the tank cleaner? Well, all these particles were settled up, on the substrate or on the rocks and stuff. And now that they are suspended in the water column from the Wavemaker, they will be sucked out by any mechanical filtration that you may have. So you can see that I have my filter inlet right here. And with this Wavemaker kind of kicking up everything, this will take all of this out of the tank. And it's just less that you'll have to clean later when doing a water change, since your mechanical filtration will take care of that for you. You'll see in a little bit, all of the particles will go away because it'll be sucked up, and your tank will be a lot cleaner as a result of this. And just like that, almost 30 minutes later, all the particles are pretty much gone. It's all been sucked into the mechanical filtration. It's that easy, guys. Now, let's talk about something that all fish need to survive, and that is oxygen in the water. Now, I'm sure we've all seen those bubblers that oxygenate the water, and it's like a big wall of bubbles that go up to the surface. Well, it's actually not the bubbles that make the oxygen in the water. What's creating the oxygen is actually the bubbles hitting the top surface of the water, and that is breaking the tension, and that tension on the water is what oxygenates it. And this can be displayed here by seeing the ripple effect in the top of the water on this tank. Now, I prefer Wavemakers over bubblers personally, just because I feel like the Wavemakers have a more natural vibe to them as opposed to a bubbler with just, a huge wall of bubbles in your tank. Now, it's basically personal preference, but that's just what I prefer. But, each their own. You can do basically whatever you want in your tank. Now, you don't need a lot of surface agitation, just enough to keep the water moving. You basically don't want stagnated water. So as you can see on the saltwater tank up at the top, you can see there's a good rippling effect going on just from the filter alone, but the power head is also creating a little bit of a ripple effect. And if I wanted to, I can move that power head up and create, more of a ripple effect, which would put more oxygen in the water, or I could put the power head down and put a little bit less oxygen in the water. It's basically all up to personal preference. Now here you can see I moved my Wavemaker up just a little bit, and you can see the surface agitation on top of the water. It's kind of in a pulsing motion because my Wavemaker is in a pulsing setting. But yeah, you can see all that surface agitation, so that is oxygenating the water a good bit. Here you can see a nice demonstration of the Wavemaker pulsing through the polyps of the toadstool. The toadstool absolutely loves it, but yeah, you can just see it's not constant flow, but just pulsing a little bit, which doesn't have to be, but the corals definitely like the pulsing. Now, you don't have to have a pulsing motion. If you just have a cichlid tank like this one, just constant flow would be fine. Another benefit of using a Wavemaker can be it can lower aggressiveness in your tank. So if your tank doesn't really have any current at all, it basically gives the fish nothing to really worry about, and they can just have their way with each other. But if they have a little bit of current in the background of their daily life, then sometimes they can be more focused on the current and less focused on each other, if that makes sense. But of course, you don't want too much flow where you're just completely blowing the fish around. So kind of use the eye test and make sure it looks like no one's really struggling, but there's enough flow in the tank. So to kind of keep them occupied if you are experiencing a ton of aggression in your tank. Another really useful tool for Wavemakers is you can use them to keep algae essentially off certain parts of your tank. So basically whatever you aim the flow at, it's harder for algae to grow in that location. So here's a perfect example of that. I have my power head, which is located in the back left of the tank right here, basically aimed at the front pane of glass. This is just so it's harder for algae to grow and accumulate on the front panel of the glass, so I have to clean it less often. But there's also other things you could do with it, like you could aim your power head down and point it at your sand bed to keep algae or detritus building up on your sand bed. So it's basically all up to personal preference for you. Now, as far as placement for your Wavemaker and the power and strength of your Wavemaker, I know every tank's different, but just as a general rule of thumb, what I've always done that seems to work best is have your Wavemaker in one corner of the tank, and it will essentially blow across your tank, and the flow will come down and around and then back to your mechanical filtration, whatever your filter setup is, and it could all kind of collect the debris here. So basically, yeah, you want a big looping motion, and it'll come and collect best if you kind of have your filter intake on the same side as your Wavemaker, and that makes sense. Now, if you have two Wavemakers in your tank, I would put, like, for instance, one in the top left and one in the bottom right, kind of blowing this way. So you're still keeping that same circular motion in the tank. So, you know, you constantly keep the tank stirred up. You don't really want the Wavemakers fighting each other, if that makes sense. That's just kind of like your general rule of thumb. But also make sure to just do like research about if you have corals or certain fish or plants, what kind of flow they like. And yeah, just kind of go from there. And as far as like the strength of the flow, kind of just do the eye test. You don't really want your fish getting blown around too much, or you don't want your substrate at the bottom of your tank getting stirred up and pushed around, and then you have kind of bald spots here and there. I would say if your substrate is moving a lot, then definitely turn the power head down or maybe angle it a different way if you can. But yeah, that's just some general rule of thumb tips for placing your Wavemaker. Now, if you're curious on the Wavemakers I run for my tanks, in this 75-gallon freshwater tank, I have this HG042 from Higer, which is a DC pump. You can control it. It's awesome. I love this Wavemaker. And on the saltwater 20-gallon nano tank, I have the smaller Wavemaker from Higer. It is the Higer HG951. Again, DC power head, controllable and programmable. And, you know, they don't really break the bank. So, yeah, they really... you know, I've been using them for a little while now, and I love them. They're silent and haven't failed me. So, yeah, I use the Higer ones, but there's a ton of great brands out there. But with that being said, guys, I hope you guys found this Wavemaker information useful. Like I said, if you had any kind of tank, definitely a Wavemaker could be useful and have many benefits for you. If you have any questions, like always, leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll make sure to get to those comments, guys. And if you guys liked the video, make sure to hit the like button. And if you didn't like the video, feel free to hit the dislike button and let me know what you didn't like in the comment section down below, because I'd always like to improve these videos for you guys. But until next time, I'll see you guys later. Take it easy. Peace out, y'all.